Mighty Wolf TV.
Yup. This is my collection of video games from over many decades. Or one and a half, I would say. But yeah. And in this video I'm going to talk about almost every single one. So, great place to start. Oh, by the way, look at this cool thing I got for Christmas. My brother actually made this. How cool it is, especially that shell. But anyway, start with the NES library. These are all of the NES games I own, as well as a few of these things. Those things are kind of worthless now that I have these mini replica boxes from Minibox Gaming. By the way, it's not a sponsor, but these guys make amazing mini replica boxes, and I bought one for like literally every single game I own. At least the retro stuff. Anyways, 10-Yard Fight. I have actually never played this one. I bought it as part of a lot that came with another game. I believe Pinball? Yeah, Pinball. Never even... Yeah, keep in mind, I do have games in this collection that I've never played. And we have one I got as a kid, Donkey Kong Classics, which is a combo cartridge with Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. Two great games in one game pack. It's one of the very few multi-carts I own. Yeah, it's one of the earlier NES games I got back in the late 2000s, I would say, when I started collecting retro games. Yeah, you could always respect the original Donkey Kong, because, like, come on, it's Donkey Kong. And then you got Donkey Kong 3, which is... I always thought this was a weird one, because, like, you're playing as this guy named Stanley, I believe, and he has to, like, shoot him up there. Yeah, and look, Minibox Gaming. That's on the bottom. Yeah, you're probably wondering, where's Donkey Kong 2? If we got Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong 3. Donkey Kong Jr. is Donkey Kong 2. Many people don't know that. I got a low battery thing on my phone. Then we got Duck Hunt, the only game I have that requires the light gun. A very iconic game that is mostly remembered because of Smash Brothers. It's like you actually need a CRT for this to work, and thankfully I have one in my game room, which is downstairs. We'll get to the consoles later. But yeah, you shoot ducks, and then there's another mode where you shoot plates or discs or whatever. Yeah, you shoot birds. I'm trying to put this back. Then you got Excite Bike. This is a pretty fun one. Right off the box, it already looks like a fun game. You race on a track in a motorbike. And one cool thing about this game, it had Track Maker or whatever. It was really cool. Yeah, the gameplay does take a while to get used to, but I personally always thought this game was cool. I would love to get the Japanese exclusive Versus version. I mean, yeah, it's on Switch Online, but you know, I do have a region converter, so I can play Japanese games. We'll get to that later. Then we got Kid Icarus, one of the very few games that uses a password pack and a gray box art. Yeah, it's Adventure Series. Yeah, all these games were like part of a certain series. So yeah, this game was pretty simple. I can never beat it. I mean, my dad did it back in the 80s. Get ready for the action and adventure of Greek mythology translated to the video age. Is that what the NES day was called? The video age? But yeah, you play as this guy from Pit, which you might know from Smash Brothers. once again, and you just go through vertical levels and defeat monsters and stuff. I didn't play this one too much, but this is another game I played as a kid. Got it on NES more recently, but I had it on like, I played it. I think I played it in Smash Bros. Brawl's Trials. I think that was how I first played it. Oh yeah, Kirby's Adventure. Probably one of my favorite NES games of all time, because like, this is pretty beefy for an NES game. I mean, man, look at these graphics. Like, this is they definitely took the advantage of the hardware. Another fellow says Kirby's Adventure features brand new worlds to explore with the same fun action-packed feel that made Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy a hit. Yeah, and some of you may remember we played this on the channel and actually beat it. Yeah, it was actually, not only it's one of my favorite NES games, but it was also the first Kirby game I ever played, and this is what got me into the Kirby series. Definitely have a soft spot for this one. Just never want to go back in. Nope, not that one. Metroid. Another game with a gray box and a password pack that my dad beat back in the 80s. I could never get far on this one. It was so easy to get lost. No, that was the whole point of the game. It was just a giant maze where you like get power-ups and stuff. And you play as this bounty hunter named Samus. And you go through all these, these caves or whatever, all these tunnels. Yeah. Not super crazy about this franchise, but I respect it for being one of the earlier Nintendo games. And then pinball, I mentioned this earlier. What could I say? It's pinball. It's standard, regular pinball, but on the NES. And I will say it's a big upgrade to the Atari one. Yeah, and as you can see, Mario's in it. And I believe Peach too. Yeah, it's be a pinball wizard right in your own home. This is another game I'll be honest, I actually never played this one. My dad had this back in the day, back in the 80s, and I don't know, saw this for super cheap at a retro game store, and my dad pointed it out, and I was like, okay, I'll get it. I know you could play it on Switch Online. I don't even remember how much it was. Man, come on. $12.95. Yeah, I actually kept the tag. Yeah, keep in mind I do have all the cartridges inside these things, so please take my word for it. I don't want to waste my time opening up all these unless I absolutely have to. Then we got Rad Racer, another NES game I saw at our retro game store that my dad had back in the 80s and I never played. But from what I could tell, it's a racing game. A pretty good looking one at that. Yeah, it uses 3D glasses. Look for your 3D glasses inside. I don't have those, but I do have the game. RC Pro AM, 32 tracks of racing thrills. Man, this predates Mario Kart Wii's 32 tracks by a lot. And there's another one my dad had back in the day, but I did actually play this one in a Rare Replay. This is actually one of the earlier Rare titles from Rareware, and that's one of the main reasons I bought this one. I want to get all the Rareware games and support their company. And then we got Star Tropics. I played very little of this. So when one of my NESs broke, I bought another one, and it actually came with a copy of this. And I was like, okay, this is a welcoming addition to the collection. Yeah, it's obviously like an RPG or an adventure game, I don't know. Did not play much of it. Do I need to say anything about this one? I mean, come on, it's Super Mario Brothers. Everybody knows this one. The game that started the Mario series, or really started it. One of the best NES games ever made. Like, usually when I play on the NES, is always like one of my go-tos. Because, like, come on, it's so easy to understand. It's so fun to play. Unlike its sequel, The Lost Levels, which I would like to get eventually. And speaking of sequels, here's its other one, Mario 2, with Mario Madness on the bottom. I thought this game was alright. I didn't hate it. I definitely played this one a lot as a kid, as well as its SNES and GBA remakes. But yeah, it's... And yes, I know this is a reskin of Doki Doki Panic. Pretty sure everyone knows that at this point. Yeah, it's also where Bob-ombs and Birdo and all those enemies come from. Oh, and then we got Super Mario Brothers 3, my opinion, one of the best NES games of all time. One of my favorites, honestly. I actually beat this on the Switch Online with save states, of course, but like this game was really hard. When it said new challenges galore, they were not kidding. This game was pretty challenging. World 8 especially. Yeah, some of the levels were kind of short, but it's on the NES, what can you do? They really took advantage of this. Like, so this runs and plays and looks way better than the original Mario. And then we got the Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt combo cartridge, which pretty much everyone has. And then we have the other combo cartridge, that's the same thing, but featuring World Class Track Meet. And I'll get to that when I get to the single pack version. Then we got the original Tetris, the game that was recently beaten by a 12 or 13-year-old back in 2023 or 2024. Yeah, this is the same version. Yeah, this is just one of those games that I like to play on a late night because, like, I just like how it looks. It's also amazing they finally put this on the Switch. I think it was the first time it ever got re-released, which is insane. I mean, many people point at the Game Boy version, but this version is really good too. And I'll get that From Russia with Fun. The relentless building block video puzzle. Yeah, definitely a good one. I need to get its sequel. Then we got the original Zelda. A great game back in the 80s, but not so great now. I'm kind of mixed about this game. I mean, it's definitely worth looking back at since it's, the very first game in the series. Experience the challenge of endless adventure. You got that right. Yeah, not really much I can say about this. I definitely did play this as a kid, but not like a whole lot. My dad beat this. He got far in it back in the day, but he did beat it more recently, back in like 2018 when it released on the Switch. Thanks to save states. It includes invaluable maps and strategic playing tips. I don't have that in my version. It's only the cartridge inside these. Then we got my last NES game, World Class Track Meet. And before you ask, yes, I do own a power pad. I don't know where it is right now, probably in my closet or something. Yeah, look, Sports Series. Yeah, I played this when I was younger, I think elementary. Yeah, you just Just press buttons on the power pad and you make these guys run. It's literally the Olympics. It's alright. I don't know. It's definitely worth getting if you own a power pad, which most people don't. I'm still surprised I do. Yeah, and that's all the NES games I own. And now we'll go on to the Super Nintendo. So here are all the SNES games. So, start things off, we got Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. Definitely the DK game that really jump-started the series into what it is today. And some of you may remember I actually did attempts to beat this on the channel and failed miserably. It's a pretty hard game, honestly, not gonna lie. But you have to respect the impact it left on pre-rendered graphics for like lesser hardware. It's like I would have liked this game so much more if it had a better save feature. Like I would love to be able to save after every level instead of having to survive like 5 levels in a row. And this is a game I got more recently. Donkey Kong Country 2. I heard this one's even harder. I have never played this. I would like to eventually. And I don't have the third one yet, but I will get it eventually. And you got the original F-Zero, the race of the 26th century. This is another one I played on my channel. It's pretty good for an SNES launch title. I love how the back of this is like a full comic. Like, okay, seriously, Nintendo, bring the series back. We need a new game. We haven't had a new one since freaking 2003. Unless you count F-Zero 99, which I kind of do. Kind of do, kind of don't. It's free. But let's say it does, just so I don't make people mad. And this is a game I got more recently. Got this for Christmas this year. This is one I played on the SNES Online beforehand. And honestly, this is one of the best looking Kirby games I've ever seen. Especially, like, this one aged gracefully. Definitely a good definition of a game that aged gracefully. Like, it still looks good today. And I love how, like, one of the games included in here is literally just a remake of Dreamland on the Game Boy, on the original Game Boy. And then you have like all this other stuff. Also, am I the only one that thought this was a compilation game? Because this had 8 games in one. Like, I assumed it was a compilation game like Super Mario All-Stars. Nope, it's just a bunch of mini games made specifically for Superstar. This is not a compilation game, although it does include a remake of Dreamland. At that point, you could have put in a remake of Kirby's Adventure, but whatever, it was still good. And then we got Mario Paints, the only game I own that requires the mouse, which I do have. And it's definitely cool, but it's like, you know, it's just like, you know, you're just drawing stuff and making music. Oh yeah, and then you got the Fly Swatter, that's where it came from in Mario Maker. Yeah, not really much for me to say about this one. It's like one of the very few SNES games I had as a child. Then we got Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing, one of the cheapest SNES games. I actually haven't even played this. But it looks pretty good. Yeah, just remember I do have games I never played, but have, and I would like to get to eventually. Pilot Wings, another launch title. This one is just okay. It's one of those franchises that I want to like more, but like I just can't. But it was pretty cool for, like, you know, showing off what the hardware can do, like producing 3D graphics like that. Yeah, like riding a plane and parachuting and all that cool stuff. Get in there. Then we got the first Star Fox, one of the SNES's new franchises. Definitely one of the cooler looking SNES games because of this Super FX chip. But yeah, it's what you'd expect. I mean, look at that. That's running on a Super Nintendo. I was never crazy about this series, but I respect it. I mean, I'm literally holding a copy of the game. And then we got Stunt Race FX, another super cheap game for the SNES that I did play a little bit of. It's like, look at this. Like, this is almost an N64 game. Like, it's just how crazy they managed to get a game with this much 3D capabilities on Super Nintendo. But like, other than that, the game is just okay. It's just, you know, it's just an average racing game, but pretty cool for the time. My first SNES game that I owned on the actual Super Nintendo, Mario All-Stars. Now this one is a compilation. It's got remakes of Mario Brothers 1, 2, 3, and Lost Levels. That's really all I could say, but it really enhanced the games, and they all have save features. That's amazing. And it's so great they put this on the Switch without having to buy like a bulky anniversary bundle with, you know, a disc that wastes, like a waste of a disc. And then you got the best Super Nintendo game, Super Mario World. Also the first one I ever played. I remember this was also the first WiiWare game, or Wii Virtual Console game I ever downloaded. But like, this is literally Mario 3, but way better. But yeah, this is like, there's just so much to this. It's like, if you haven't played on an SNES yet, definitely play this one. This game makes a great first impression. And yes, this was another launch title. Like, look at that, over 96 levels. And it was also the first game of Yoshi. You gotta love him. And speaking of Yoshi, Yoshi's Island, also known as Super Mario World 2. That was just to get people to buy the game. And this is another game I got last year, and really, really enjoyed it. I love the art style, I love the graphics, I love the music. It is just so fun to play. Like, it's just literally one of the best aging SNES games. Although if I have one complaint about the game, it's that it's Baby Mario's crying. And speaking of which, Baby Mario, that's where he debuted, and that's why he's in like Mario Kart and stuff. And speaking of Mario Kart, the first Mario Kart ever made, right here. Not really worth going back to. It's okay. This is another game I played on the channel back in 2023 when I was playing all the Mario Karts. But yeah, pretty good for an SNES game, but like, it's more of a novelty nowadays. They're out playing like 64 or Double Dash or Wii or DS. But despite this game not being as great as it is, I respect it. I mean, we wouldn't have the series if it weren't for this. Like, you have to respect its legacy. And then you got Super Scope 6. Not that I had a lot of cheap SNES games. This one is the cheapest. It was like 95 cents. And I do not have the Super Scope 6, so not really. So I honestly can't even play this. And then we got Tetris and Dr. Mario, a combo pack. Now you probably think like, oh, there's a standalone Tetris for SNES and a standalone Tetris for Dr. Mario. Those don't exist. These are exclusive as a combo pack. But yeah, I talked about Tetris already, but Dr. Mario got that on the SNES. It's literally, yeah, these are literally the NES versions, but 16-bit basically, and they got like new music and new graphics, as you can see. Didn't play too much of this. Bought it for like maybe $20, $30, $40, I forget. And then we have the Super Game Boy, which allows you to put a Game Boy game in here, and you could play your Game Boy games on the TV. Pretty cool for the day, but not that cool now. Like, what I hate about this thing is that it has the up the sound pitch. Like, I don't know why it's higher pitched. It's kind of annoying if you ask me. That's why I'd rather use a Game Boy player on my GameCube. Yeah, and then I have two Japanese Super Nintendo games. So you guys probably never expected me to own this one. I actually am a fan of Sailor Moon. And I got the game for like 20 bucks. It's actually the very first one. But yeah, you get to play as all the Guardians in an arcade style beat 'em up. It's pretty cool. And then you got the Japanese version of Super Mario World, and this confirms it's Super Mario Bros. 4. Now, yeah, the Japanese versions are a little different. I would like to get more eventually. But I don't know, there's just not... And before you ask, I do have a region converter for my NES, SNES, N64. I need to get one for my GameCube. And also, just look how different these cartridges are. Like, look at that. That's what an SNES, or that's what a Super Famicom cartridge looks like. I do not like how it looks. I'm so glad we got what we got.